Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today for one of our closing workshops, which is Ethical Altruistic Leadership. I'm honored and thrilled to introduce you to the Venerable Dr. Barry Kerzin, who is here with me today. Dr. Kerzin is a medical doctor, a Buddhist monk, an adjunct professor at the University of Pittsburgh, as well as an adjunct professor at HKU and an honorary professor at the Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences. He is the founder and president of the Altruism in Medicine Institute and founder and chairman of the Human Values Institute in Japan. For 33 years, he has been providing free medical care to the poor up to the high lamas, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We are so grateful to have you here today, Dr. Kerzin, so please everyone join me in giving him a warm welcome. And with that, I would like to hand you the floor.
Susie, thank you very much. I was just informed by Kathleen that, we did a program several years ago, a couple of years before COVID, at the North Allegheny High School. I think we had both high school, I believe, and junior high school students there, a couple of classes. And that some of those students, maybe now they're old, well, of course they're older, are with us today and helped design this whole 2022 Emerging Global Leaders Conference. So it makes me very happy to realize that there's continuity and a little bit of a full circle here. So I've titled this this Leading with Intention program, Ethical Leadership, the Power of Meditation. So we'll talk both about ethical leadership and how meditation fits into that. So there we go. Okay, there we go. So this is a slide, a wordgram, really around integrity. And integrity is an essential part of ethical leadership. Integrity means honesty, right? It means not being hypocritical. It means, no BS. It means, being straightforward in a kind way, but being honest. It also means commitment. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you got to follow through. Too many times we get lazy. We say, oh yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And then you forget, right? So we have to have that internal sense of remembering and a commitment. When we say we're going to do something, we got to do it. Other important things here are trust. You can see that on the vertical axis. You can also see respect. You can see caring, which is like compassion. I mentioned commitment, and there are a number of other things that are listed here. We'll come back to these concepts. So what can ethical leaders do? First, they can be mindful, okay? So what is mindfulness? We've all heard that term many times, but few of us really know what it means, or we're confused. We've heard this, we've heard that. So let me define mindfulness. Mindfulness has two different ways that it's used. One, I call it with a capital M, such as here. And that means to look inside in the present moment. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And in that way, we're being mindful. And it's an ability that we have to cultivate, because normally our orientation is outward, right? We approach the world and others looking out through our eyes, through our ears, and our other senses of smell, touch, and taste, right? So that's all outward focus. That's what we normally do. Mindfulness is different. It's inward focus. What am I thinking? What am I feeling right now in the present moment? So this is what ethical leaders can do and need to do, is to be mindful, and in that way cultivate a peace of mind. Anger and attachment cloud our minds, so we must reduce them in order to be really good ethical leaders. I'm a little bit following in some of the things at the end of the last session that Kissy and Joanne were talking about in terms of setting intention. Those were very beautiful. And some of the comments that people had were around safety, personal safety, setting boundaries. They were around enhancing our, sense of that we're able and can do things well, confidence. So those were wonderful intentions that also play a role in ethical leadership. So now this is a slide looking at the other kind of mindfulness, which is with a small m, and it's essentially meditation. And it's concentration meditation, where we train our minds to be more focused and concentrated. Sometimes that's called shamatha. So that kind of mindfulness or meditation develops more focused attention. Our minds are more calm, less of that chatter and that clutter, all that junk that's always going on. We begin to slowly reduce that. And as a result, we learn better. So we have enhanced learning because our mind is more focused and more calm, less junk going on to distract us. And as a result, we have a broader perspective. There's less clutter to, inhibit our broader perspective. And because of having a broader perspective, we make better decisions. So this is extremely important in athletics, for example, where sometimes you have to make split-second decisions on what to do and do it well. And if your mind is cluttered, if you don't have a calm, focused mind with a broader perspective, able to see more, you're not going to make those really good decisions right on the spot. It's also important, obviously, in business. It's important in education, where we have to make decisions on, when we're taking an exam or when we're actually applying some of the work that we're studying. And as a result of all these things that I've mentioned, it improves our physical and our mental health. And I know both Kizzy and Joanne talked a lot about their organization improving mental health. And we'll come back to those issues in a few minutes, the physical and mental health improvements. The Harvard Business Review in December of 2016, reported that leaders who devoted themselves to a bare minimum of 10 minutes a day in training mindfulness, they climbed the career ladder faster. Now, I'm not sure that everybody wants to climb the career ladder, but if you do, mindfulness is helpful. It's also helpful for these other things that I mentioned in the previous slide. And then next is to be selfless. So first was to be mindful. The second is to be selfless, to be a good or great ethical leader. And this means concern for others. This means to be kind. And when we have concern for others, we're kind and we have integrity, we talked about earlier, we're honest, that leads to trust. And that trust then leads to really to good interpersonal relationships and team building, which are important for leadership, particularly ethical leadership. And then thirdly, be compassionate. This is similar to being selfless, but once we reduce our ego, become more humble by being selfless, then we go out to others, have concern for the well-being of others, those that we lead, and we develop more trust as a result of having concern for others. Because if they realize that we're concerned about them, we have genuine concern about them, they're going to feel that they're heard and they're going to feel trust. So we're building that trusting relationship, which is critical in any organization, even, a family. If you're not concerned about the other members of your family and you're not developing trust in a family, interpersonal relationships are going to suffer, right? So compassion involves strength and courage. It's not passive. Sometimes people think compassion is passive. It's kind of wimpy. It's nerdy. It's not. It's very active and it responds to injustice. This is part of compassion, is being active, responding to injustice with firmness and strength without anger or violence. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an incredible example of this kind of ethical leadership, responding to injustice with firmness and strength without anger or violence. And so is Judge and most likely to be Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, an ethical leader who stands firm and has strength and compassion to fight injustice without anger or violence. And so is the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, incredibly powerful, incredibly funny, incredibly wise and compassionate. And he is the penultimate ethical leader in today's world. And so were Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, and President Nelson Mandela, ethical leaders. People trust businesses based on two principles. So these are a little different principles than Kissy and Joanne were talking about, but they're wrapped into the same overall understanding. First, competence. And that means delivering on promises, okay? This is trust in business now, okay? Number one, competence, delivering on promises. Two, ethical behavior, doing the right thing, improving society. Okay, now both of these are important, but how are they weighted? Global trust, so this is around the world, not just in America, in business is driven by ethical principles 76% of the time, competence 24% of the time. Of course, we have to be competent, but ethical principles are the most important for global trust in business. Research shows companies that care for the mental health of their employees and for environmental issues also consistently deliver better results on the bottom line, better profit. With a culture of integrity and trust, there's open communication among employees and bosses. Without it, there's a culture of suspicion and fear. And as I alluded to before, this is not just in big companies, it's also in small companies and all kinds of organizations and groups, including families. If we don't have integrity and trust in a family, we're going to have a culture of suspicion and fear. And many of us only too well know that from our upbringing. So we now, when we develop families, we're going to go beyond that and not have suspicion and fear. We're going to develop integrity and trust even within our families. So humility. Humility is the opposite of ego. As ego goes down like a teeter-totter, so my left hand, this one, as it goes down, what goes up is compassion and good ethical leadership. Okay, and that's humility. And remember, it's strength and courage. It's not passive weakness. It takes a lot of strength and courage to be really humble. Leaders must continually better themselves and become trustworthy role models. This is crucial because if we're not a good role model, we're going to be two-faced, right? We're going to be hypocritical. You know, we're not going to be showing integrity and genuine compassion. So we must be a good role model, role modeling trust, integrity, compassion, mindfulness, selflessness, humility. So here's another little kind of diagram which shows in the center, we're looking at stewardship, okay? So that's taking responsibility for others if you become a steward. So this is stewardship of public trust. So these are leaders in the public domain, even private companies or in institutions who are stewarding the public trust or the trust of the employees of the constituents. So what does it involve? On the very top, what does it say? Becoming self-aware, right? So this is the mindfulness. This is the integrity. This is the selflessness. This is the humility. And on the very bottom, it says leading change. So be the change that we want to see in the world. We have to be it ourselves in order to accomplish that. So leading change. And then on the right side, engaging others, teamwork. It involves trust, it involves respect, and it involves, interpersonal relationship skills that are able to foster respect and trust. And if we do all that, then on the left, we achieve results. If we don't do that stuff, we don't achieve at least very good results. So a short course in mindfulness can improve attention and boost performance by 20%, leading to 20% savings to the company. This is quite incredible, but it's true. It's borne out in research. Aetna Insurance is a model. Now, since Aetna has kind of been bought out by others and things have changed a little bit, but the original Aetna Insurance Company is a model. And they showed that training one employee in mindfulness over a 12-week period, so a course of mindfulness over four months, resulted in approximately $1,000 savings annually for each employee that was trained in mindfulness. That's incredible. Mental health problems are the leading cause of sick leave in the United Kingdom. Over half of the 70 million sick days annually are due to mental health issues. Things that Kissy and Joanne alluded to: anxiety, stress, depression. Okay, so if we don't deal with those issues with our employees, we're going to have a lot of people that aren't coming to work a lot of the time, right? So it's very important to work with the mental health issues of our employees. This is a really good piece of research on depression. Comes out of the University of Oxford and the University of Toronto. And basically, it's taking a group of people with depression, and it's following them for nearly 2 years, 600 days. And it's asking the question, if we do an intervention, can we reduce this natural occurrence of depression recurring? Depression tends to come back, okay? So this is looking at survival there on the y-axis, which means no recurrence of depression. 2 interventions, the one in red is basically meditation. It's the mindfulness with a small m, and it's MBCT. It's just a variation of mindfulness practice of concentration meditation, shamatha. And then in blue is medication for depression, the so-called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. As a doctor, I have to remember that. So what this showed was both meditation and medication, antidepressants, are equal in reducing significantly recurrence of depression. The last group in green there is placebo. At the end of nearly 2 years, only about 20% of the people did not have recurrence of their depression. Most of them did have recurrence of their depression. So this shows, and this research has been done a number of times, that meditation and medication equally effective and very effective at reducing recurrence of depression. Now, in 2012, US companies, about 11% had offered yoga practice. 8%, only 8% were offering meditation practice to their employees, 2012. Now look at 2018, 20% of companies in the United States were offering mindfulness or meditation training to their employees. This was reported in an article in the National Review in 2018. Companies like Google, Goldman Sachs, Aetna, Haagen-Dazs, General Mills, Intel, and other companies were offering mindfulness or meditation training to their employees as of 2018. So integrity, humility, mindfulness, compassion make great ethical leaders. And this is the last, I think one of the last slides I have. Ethical leadership in the center, and you can see that in the very top, it builds community because of trust and respect. You can see that on the lower part, it involves respect and integrity or honesty. And then you can see over to the right, it serves others. It means compassion, less ego, humility. And then on the left, it fights injustice. So it fights for justice, ethical leadership. unconditional love. So this is a bunny and a piglet. It doesn't matter. It's just love. Okay, this is a book, I think, yes, I wrote this a couple of years ago. I think 2018 it was published. No Fear, No Death, The Transformative Power of Compassion. So a lot of the things, the principles we talked about in ethical leadership and the power of meditation and mindfulness are in this book. Our group, a nonprofit, is called Altruism in Medicine Institute, AIMI. We call it AIMI for short. And this is our web address, altruismmedicine.org. Please come and see us. We have a page, a public figure page under my name, Barry Kerzin, on Facebook, where twice a week I post teachings, a long paragraph or a short paragraph on a lot of the same material that we covered today. We have a page in Wikipedia, in Instagram, and in LinkedIn. And I want to thank you very much. And I've saved time. I have still about 20 minutes, which is perfect, because what I'd like to do with you now, I want to unshare this. So we don't need the slide anymore. Good. What I'd like to do are two things. One, I want to have a discussion with you. And that means I need you guys to put stuff in the chat box. And I also want to do a meditation with you. So I think let's do our discussion, and we'll leave about 8 minutes. I'm looking at my clock, my phone, which is on silence. Please put your phones on silence, particularly because we're going to do meditation fairly soon. But first, let's do a discussion period for probably about 10 minutes or so. So if you have some comments or you have some questions, fire away, put them in the chat, and we'll have a good discussion, please. And anything that you feel, that you want to ask or you want to comment on, go ahead and do it. You don't have to feel shy. You don't have to feel embarrassed. You don't have to feel, well, my question is kind of dumb. Other people would think it's pretty stupid. Don't worry about any of that stuff. I don't worry about that. Very good. Thank you. What made you want to go into your career path? Wow. Yeah. So there have been two strands in my life, and they continue. One strand is about meditation and knowing who I am on a deeper level. And the other strand is helping to heal people who are sick. And the second strand, when I was 10, 11 years old, I was very sick. I had an abscess in my brain. I nearly died. I went into coma. And the doctor that saved my life, the neurosurgeon, I just wanted to be like him. And that's just something that went into my heart. I mean, it's something that even when I tried to get away from that, I couldn't. And so that's what propelled me into studying and medicine and becoming a doctor. That question that was with me since I was probably 6 or 7, there were two questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? And those questions would come up every day. And I had no idea, what is this stuff, And gradually I went in, and so my major at university was philosophy, trying to answer those questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? And that led then to interest in Buddhism and meditation. And then I was invited to Dharamsala, India, northern India, where the Dalai Lama lives as a refugee, since his country was taken over by the Chinese military in 1959. I went there in the late 80s and kind of pretty quickly became his physician, or not really, but he invited me in or asked me to come in for medical advice. And since then, I've been doing that for him. And so I am one of his medical doctors. And then about 19 years ago, I became a monk because I love doing meditation. I love the lifestyle. And so those are the things that propelled me in my maybe 2 career sort of paths. Thank you for that question, Julene. Earlier from Jax, I was just wondering if he meant to not focus on the people following the whole time, but focusing selfishly or just on what we are feeling. So, yeah, wonderful question, Jax. You know, I think self-compassion is the foundation. So we have to work on ourselves. And in a way, it is selfish, okay? But it's by working on ourselves and learning how to be more kind and gentle to ourselves that gives us the tools to be more kind and gentle and compassionate for others. So when we work on ourselves, we do it not just out of a selfish motivation, but also with the recognition we're going to use this to also be compassionate to others. And then from Susie, thank you, Susie. What has been the most rewarding part of your career and your journey with meditation? Well, meditation is a way of living. And I have this incredible opportunity and privilege. I keep pinching myself because I don't think it's really true. I think because I'm dreaming, that I live with the Dalai Lama. And that's been the most rewarding thing for me. And to have that, to be able to observe him over decades and to try to, change my negative stuff into the way he at least, talks and behaves. I can't read his mind, of course. How do you and how can we incorporate being an ethical leader into daily life? Yeah, I think working on ourselves, as Jax kind of was asking, with the intention of bringing that good stuff to others, okay? So make a commitment to work on your stuff. And that means to be mindful, look in as much as you can in the present moment. What am I thinking and feeling? When I notice jealousy, when I notice anger, when I notice, arrogance, learn techniques. We didn't have time today for me to go into all those, but you can find them in the book, No Fear, No Death. You can find it on our website, altruismmedicine.org. How techniques and methods to, when we recognize those negative, attitudes, emotions, thoughts, jealousy, anger, arrogance, and others, how to transform them into their healthy opposites, anger into tolerance, jealousy into appreciation, and arrogance into humility. When a person has depression, they often don't feel like doing anything, exactly, or that nothing will help, exactly, helpless. What is the best way to get started? Make a habit out of meditation and mindfulness. Try to convince yourself of its benefits. Remember that list I had? If you want, if Susie lets me know, I can share that slide and then she can share that with you all. So to go over again and again the benefits of meditation or mindfulness, convince yourself. It's just like smoking, to stop smoking. If you're not convinced that it's bad for your health, you're not really convinced of that, you're not going to stop smoking. Whereas if you are really convinced, it won't be easy, but you can actually then get off a cigarette. Same thing. If you're convinced that mindfulness and meditation are healthy, then you're more liable to be able to sit down and do it every day. Do it for 5 minutes every day. Set a particular time of the day, a place in your home, and tell people in your home, leave me alone for 5 minutes. Try not to make a lot of noise where I am. I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit. And if you do it that way, that can be helpful. Try to get good sleep if you can. Try to get good regular daily exercise, eating well, less stimulants. All that can help also. And if need be, some people also use a little low dose of the antidepressants just to kind of get them going. Once they get going, after a while, they may be able to wean off of that. Good. How much time do we have? Good. I think we have 10 minutes, 9 minutes on my iPhone. So let's meditate. How many of you have meditated before? Give me a yes or no in the chat, please, quickly. I'm seeing some yeses, bunch of yeses, or 3 yeses, 4 yeses. So I'm going to assume the other people either fell asleep or Oh, there's a 5 yes, or the answer is no, or they're not sure. Okay, very good. I got a bunch. Wow, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of, I think we're 13 right now. Over half of us, at least over half of us, have meditated. Wonderful. And those of you that haven't, congratulations. Congratulations, because now you're gonna answer that question next time is yes, because we're all going to meditate. Okay, we're going to do a meditation on our breath. Let me briefly explain it, and then we'll do it together. We're going to sit with our back straight. That helps to keep the central channel straight, because later when we become expert meditators, we'll want to bring our energies into the central channel. So we want it straight so it doesn't get kinked, it doesn't block. So sit up straight, relax your shoulders. So we're always balancing alertness and relaxation. So the straight spine is like alertness, the relaxed shoulders is like relaxation, balancing. Good. Now we're going to do this with our eyes open. So watch me, the eyes will be looking down like this. The head is up, the head is not down, it's up and looking down like this, mouth closed. The reason for that is it develops more clarity of mind if we meditate with the eyes open. If you completely can't do it, it's okay. Do it with your eyes closed, but don't fall asleep. We're going to have our mouth closed and we're going to breathe just normally, normal breathing through our nose. And then we're going to place our attention. We're going to focus our mind, our awareness here at the base of the nose. And if we notice the air passing at that point, focus on that sensation. So now I'd like everyone to take 3 deep breaths through your nose. Close your mouth slowly and concentrate on this point. See if you can identify that sensation there of the air passing at that point. Go ahead. Good. Now, if you could identify that sensation of the air passing at that point, the base of the nose, that's what you focus on. If you did not, no problem, just focus your attention there at the base of the nose. Now, your hands, if you like, you can put your left hand down, like a left hand with the palm up, and your right hand on top of it. Let me do this. In the opposite direction, palm up, thumbs making a triangle, and you relax that in your lap. So left hand palm up, right hand on top, palm up, going the other direction, thumbs making a triangle, and relax it in your lap. Very good. Good. Now, you're probably going to get distracted. When you do, you may hear a sound, a thought, a feeling. There may be you may start following a thought. When you recognize you're distracted, just bring your mind back to the base of the nose. That's all. You may have to do that many times. That's wonderful because that's the work, the mental training of meditation. Good. So I would like you all, please, now to meditate. I'll do it with you. We'll do it for about 5 minutes, and I'll be the timekeeper. Please meditate. And please stop your meditation. I think we have about 1 minute left. I'd like to say something very important about your meditation. Please do not judge. Please do not judge yourself. Please do not judge your meditation. That's very, very important. We have about a minute left. If there are any final comments or questions about the meditation, we can do them for about a minute or two, please.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Curzon. I encourage people to put final thoughts in the chat if you have any, and please join me in thanking Dr. Curzon for being here, for sharing your wisdom with us, and for guiding us through that wonderful meditation. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and thank you to everyone who is listening and participating today. We'll let people put their final thoughts in the chat.
Maybe everybody just mellowed out with that meditation. So you're all very, very welcome. I'm very happy to be with you again, and I look forward to doing this in the future again. Susie, thank you very much. And Kathleen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Curzon.